Transfers in football can make or break players and also entire clubs. In this video, we'll look back on the most iconic transfers of all time and how they impacted the game forever. Starting out with Philippe Coutinho from Liverpool to Barcelona. Hear me out, I didn't say that every transfer had a positive impact or that it translated into a successful tenure at a club, and this case is the best example of that. After the selling of Neymar, Barcelona decided to spend the majority of the money they received on another Brazilian superstar. Coutinho was one of the best players in the world and felt that Liverpool was holding him back from winning the Champions League. So in the winter transfer window of 2018, he joined Barca. The move completely backfired as along the signing of Dembélé, this marked the beginning of Barca's sporting and financial downfall, while Liverpool used the money to strengthen their defense, bringing in Van Dijk and Alisson. And just a year later, Liverpool defeated Barcelona 4-0 on their road to Champions League triumph. Well, Coutinho did win a Champions League too, so I guess his transfer just armed Barcelona. Number 9. Diego Maradona from Barcelona to Napoli. After narrowly avoiding relegation, Napoli made the shocking move of signing perhaps the greatest player in the world at the time. And boy, the streets of Napoli fell in love. The Neapolitans looked at Maradona like a savior, someone who would fight against the establishment. And not only did he fight them, but he also beat them. Maradona brought Napoli to the peak of Italian football, bringing them their first 2 Serie A titles, a UEFA Cup, and 3 other domestic cups. His impact was immeasurable, and when he died, the whole city cried for him. Number 8. David Beckham from Real Madrid to LA Galaxy. Beckham's time at Real Madrid isn't particularly well remembered, and his success was nothing like what he achieved at Manchester United. But it was still a shock when MLS, a league whose last tradition of buying franchise players had come nearly 30 years later, landed Beckham. Beckham played well in his stint in California and is arguably the most iconic MLS player of all time, but it became evident for everybody that he wasn't there because of how good he still was, but for the eyes that he attracted. This transfer will go down in history as one of the most iconic of all time because it marked the normalization of superstars going into smaller leagues, mainly for marketing purposes. Number 7. Ruud Gullit and Marco Basten from PSV and Ajax to Milan. Back in 1986, Silvio Berlusconi saved AC Milan from going bankrupt. And man, did it make it rain. He spent a ton of money on the team, which was something new in European football at the time. He got some awesome players like Gullit and Van Basten, and their impact was immediate as they propelled Milan to a first Scudetto in 8 years in their first season. Then, they added another Dutch player, Rijkaard, and won their first European Cup in 20 years. This team, led by coach Arrigo Sarri, played a style of football that was way different than what the Italians were used to. They were all about high pressing and tearing up the defensive game, which was very different than what the other teams were doing. Although you can probably realize by now that Milan didn't rely solely on Gullit and Van Basten to be one of the greatest squads of all time, they were definitely the genesis of their domination. Number 6. Edgar Davids from Ajax to Milan. Another transfer to AC Milan, but nowhere nearly as successful as the previous ones. Davids was plagued by injuries in Milan, and the club were really disappointing as well, never finishing above 10th while he was there. Nevertheless, this transfer left a permanent mark on the world of football, as Davids was the first player to exploit the Bosman rule, that states that any player can run out his contract and sign for another club at the end of it without his former club receiving any compensation. It marked the birth of player power and a shift from club to the agents in terms of shaping who ends up where, and that cannot be underestimated. Number 5. Figo from Barcelona to Real Madrid. It's impossible to put into words how big of a deal this transfer was at the time. Imagine Ronaldo, at the height of his power, going directly from Real Madrid to Barcelona. Yep, that's how impactful this transfer was. The Barcelona fans didn't take it well, and the Clásicos that followed were brutal affairs, with Figo subjected to a big Z launching his direction. Besides all of that, this move marked the beginning of Florentino Perez's tradition of always trying to bring the best player in the world in the summer. But this transfer would never have the impact that it had if it wasn't for the Real-Barca rivalry, and the next transfer was arguably the thing that truly lit the fire between the two teams. Number 4. Di Stefano from Millonarios to Real Madrid via Barcelona. After touring Spain and the rest of the world with his side Millonarios, Alfredo Di Stefano was the subject of a bidding war between Barcelona and Real Madrid. The two clubs were fighting so much that FIFA had to step in and make a decision. It was agreed that each club would buy 50% of Di Stefano's rights and he would play for both teams on alternate seasons. But things didn't go well for him at Barcelona and they decided to sell him off to Madrid for 5.5 million Spanish pesetas. And man, did he make a name for himself there. Di Stefano played for Madrid for 11 years and led them to win their first 5 European Cup titles. If it wasn't for this transfer, Real would probably never have the pedigree that they currently possess regarding the Champions League, and the rivalry with Barcelona would probably not have evolved the way it did. Number 3. Neymar from Barcelona to PSG. Se queda, he's staying. Yeah, right. MSN were at the peak of their powers, but Neymar felt that if he truly wanted to become the best player in the world, he had to get out of Messi's shadow. So against all odds, he joined PSG in a move that broke the transfer market. Literally broke the transfer market. But the story goes deeper than that. Barcelona, with money to burn, would dive deep into the market and make some of the worst transfer decisions any modern club could possibly make, simultaneously creating the debt hole that they find themselves in now, while also inflating the market for every other deal that would come after. But also, it could be argued it was the beginning of the end for Neymar, who could have been the best player in the world, but was demotivated by playing in Liga. Number 2. Cristiano Ronaldo from Man United to Real Madrid. This transfer undoubtedly defined a generation. At the time, CR7 was, alongside Messi, the best player in the world. He had brought Man United to back-to-back Champions League finals, and it was the obvious step up. At the time, it was the most expensive transfer of all time, and rightfully so, as this move kickstarted another period of domination by Real Madrid. The Portuguese GOAT helped Real conquer the Champions League more than 10 years later, and then won it 3 times in a row. More importantly, this transfer allowed us to witness perhaps the greatest football rivalry of all time. Messi and Ronaldo pushed each other to an absurd level that it might take various generations to recreate what they achieved. In my opinion, if it wasn't for this transfer, neither Ronaldo nor Messi would reach the heights that they did. And number 1, Johan Cruyff from Ajax to Barcelona. After helping to establish Ajax as the best team in Europe on a consistent basis, Cruyff hoped he could do the same with Barca, a team that until then had always been in the shadow of Real. Although his 5-year spell as a Barcelona player only yielded 1 La Liga title, his legacy beyond is one of the most profound in the history of the sport. The total football he cultivated at Ajax bore fruit at Barcelona as a coach, with his dream team boasting talents such as Romario and Michael Laudrup, and winning 4 consecutive titles as well as the 1992 European Cup. To sum it up, 5 Champions Leagues, Pep Guardiola, Tiki-Taka, and in a way, Messi. All thanks to Cruyff, the most influential thinker in football. And that is it. Do you agree with my picks? Leave your opinion in the comments and let's have a discussion. Thank you for reaching the end of the video. If you like content like this, subscribe so you don't miss a single update from Thorn FC. And since you've liked this video, watch this one up next. I bet you'll enjoy it. I'll see you there.